everybody recognizes that we're dealing with the rule of law versus Trump. And the battle in the courtroom is certainly a major dimension of that battle. But everybody knows that isn't the only dimension of that battle, that there's a political thing going on too. That Trump has got no legal defenses for any of these cases, as far as anybody has been able to discern. I mean, is he guilty in the documents case? I don't see any room for doubt. Is he guilty in the January 6th case? I don't think there's any room for doubt. Is he guilty in this cheating case? I think it's going to be shown. Is he guilty of the RICO charges? If that's going to be shown too, if we can get to trial. He obviously doesn't want the facts to come out. That's why he tries to delay everything. Not the way an innocent man behaves. I don't know what the win-loss record is, but it seems like his political strategy is working reasonably well, that he's got his supporters believing it's a witch hunt and he's being persecuted, when it's just so obviously not the case. So what happens in the courts, everybody often stresses, in the court, there are rules of evidence, there's the facts, and there's the law, and I think that's wonderful. I mean, I really think it's wonderful. In the court, you can't get away with all the stuff that Donald Trump does all the time, which is showing absolutely no respect for the facts or the truth. I mean, he's just an incredible phenomenon. I think if there's somebody who's looking at a gallery of history's biggest liars, he is far and away the biggest. If the only battle were in the courtroom, I would say, this is looking really good, because I think that the DA, what's his name, Adams, he's going to win. He's going to get the conviction. And then the question, what kind of sentence should he get? But there'll be appeals for a long time. But still, the American public will be exposed to some stuff. And I'm interested in knowing if it's a nothing burger because it's old, like some people say, or no, people are going to see a lot of stuff that's going to be very impactful. I'll be interested to see. But he's going to come out of the court, if his past history is any indication, and he's going to speak to the press. He's going to put out a statement into the political dimension. He has no legal defense, because all these prosecutors have got the goods on him. So what he's got is a lot of Americans who can be influenced by his fact-free presentation, full of false accusations and ugly stuff that he can put out when he steps out of the courtroom in front of a bunch of microphones. That's his right. I mean, there are gag orders in place. That's a whole nother issue. But none of these gag orders will prohibit him from going out there and saying he's a poor victim of a political witch hunt and that these are terrible people. And so I don't like the idea that that dimension of that arena of the battle be forfeited. And I don't know that it's necessary that it be forfeited. Now, I recognize, well, I think I recognize that there's a norm that the prosecutor speaks in filings. He speaks through the court process. I think that the people would say it would not be appropriate for Alvin Bragg. Adams was the mayor. I'm sorry. Alvin Bragg to come out to the microphone and refute what Donald Trump just said. I'm not sure that that would be wrong. I mean, there is the rules that reign in court, and then there are the rules that reign out on the public microphones. Is it necessary that the prosecutor speak only in the court and forfeit to the defendant to speak propaganda and lies and manipulativeness and throw the American people, or many as he can get, away from seeing the truth that's being exposed in the court of law? Well, I'm not sure. If there isn't, I would invite the prosecutors to consider playing that role. Alvin Bragg seems to have a nature that's not quite suited to that kind of a toe-to-toe. That's not a criticism. I think he seems like he's fine. But I'm not sure he would be the best one to go. There are different ways of doing things. You could even have Barack Obama go up there, because he used to have a really good jab. But he's got this history of not being really up for the fight nearly enough. I think Jack Smith, and if we ever get to that trial, I think he would be good to do that. But if that's not okay for a prosecutor to do, if the prosecutor's got his, public microphone hands tied behind his back, then I think we should find a way to get a designated, there must be a good word, designated voice of the truth, counterfactual voice, somebody who would have some stature. So it's not just, I don't know. Could you go with like Andrew Weissman? He's perfectly capable in a lawyerly way of prosecuting the case. But again, he's sort of tied a lot to the legal norms, which are not formed around having a trial of somebody like Donald Trump, who's waging an all-out war at every point in every way against the rule of law. Not the well-behaved Richard Nixon we would have had in 1975, facing the charges that got him kicked out of the presidency. No, we got a different kind of guy, and we need to be able to adapt our system to take into account that difference. And I don't think it's okay for Donald Trump to have nothing contradicting him right there and then when he says a whole bunch of crap to the American people and sends tens of millions off the hunt, when the business of America right now is to get as many Americans as possible to understand just what the nature of the choices we face in the 2024 election. That is the business of America right now. There's a lot of places where democracy versus fascism is getting fought out. But this election is the main short-term event. Donald Trump getting elected president would be a setback of enormous magnitude, maybe the end of maybe decisive for fascism. Listening to the things he says he wants to do and the plans that the Heritage Foundation and other people are creating for him. If we picture an America that's being run that way, it's a different America. So his not getting elected it is where the rubber really hits the road. I mean, getting him convicted of his crimes to establish that in America, nobody is above the law, that is really big. And people have been wondering. I mean, this is a drama that's being acted out in front of the American people. The American people are witnessing the question being answered. is everybody under the law in America? If Merrick Garland had been doing his job as he should have been doing, he would have realized at the very beginning of his tenure that he had to take this battle on with Donald Trump in order to establish, no, if a guy commits the most serious crimes in American history right in front of the whole country with trying to overturn an election, question of whether we have the rule of law and nobody is above the rule of law is already on the table and needs to be tackled right away. But he was afraid. That points in a whole other direction that I am happy to address now and then, which is what has been wrong with the democracy side of this battle, that this fascistic force has been able to rise to such power that we really don't know for sure what kind of America we're going to have in a few years. People born when I was born in 1946 had no reason to think that that would ever be at stake at this level. So we don't want to leave the political dimension to be indirectly affected only by the facts and the truth that are established in the courtroom. We know already that a lot of things can be established as true beyond any reasonable doubt, like the January 6th committee. Any American paying attention with average intelligence and in a rational state of mind should have known by the time the January 6th committee finished its work that Donald Trump represents a totally lawless force, a fascistic force, and needs to be held accountable for committing serious crimes. But we know that that truth hasn't pervaded the American body politic enough. There's a chance that a lot of Americans who wouldn't choose fascism will help fascism come to power by voting for Donald Trump in November. So if we're interested in upholding the rule of law, it isn't enough to run a good trial. Not when the force of fascism is going to come out in an embodied form and attack the rule of law with lies, unanswered by the forces of rule of law. So who could do it? Well, if it were in Washington, I might nominate Jamie Raskin to be the voice of democracy. Maybe he could do it from Washington. Maybe it doesn't have to be in front of the very same group. Maybe there's a way of piping it in from Washington. Maybe he could take on that assignment of listening to what Trump says when he comes out of the courtroom, where he's never going to testify. He doesn't want to hand the forces of law the chance to nail him for perjury, and he can't tell the truth. I mean, everybody's been predicting he will not testify, and I think that's true. But he's going to come out and he's going to try to deceive as many people as he can in ways that serve his political purposes. And I'd like to have somebody either at the same place in the same courtroom. Ideally, I think that would probably be better, because the same press would be there, the same TV cameras would be there. And you could jump right in and say that's all a bunch of lies. Here's why he's being tried for this. This isn't just about some old thing. This is about a guy who's a cheat. Not only is it cheat here where he tried to cheat the American people of knowing what's true, he's been trying to cheat the American people of knowing what's true by delaying all his trials so that the truth of the matter will not be exposed about his other crimes. And here he is out here trying to muddy the waters when we show that he cheated in 2016 too by trying to bury the truth so that the American people wouldn't know what Stormy Daniels and what's her name, you know who I mean, the Playboy Bunny, might otherwise have told them in the wake of the Access Hollywood tape. That might have been the difference between victory and defeat. He won because he kept those things silent and he broke laws to do it. And he cheated the American people out of information that they were entitled to. And he's still doing that. So let's not kid ourselves. We're dealing here with a liar and a cheat. And his lies and his war against the truth and his war against the law cannot be abided. Don't be deceived by this witch hunt nonsense. I'm not sure if that's the right way to deliver the speech, but you want people to have that running in their heads when they think about what Donald Trump just said. And when they go into the voting booth. So it's a problem if there's really an asymmetry between the defense that can talk about anything anywhere, gag rules aside, which isn't a big aside, but and the prosecution that speaks only through filings and in court and such. If there really has to be that division, then I think it's the forces of democracy need to summon up an actor or even a group of actors, a small group of well-respected, articulate, eloquent, constitutional authorities who can take whatever it is that Donald Trump tries to inject into the body politic and counteract it with the antidote of the truth.